Hey, happy Thursday to you on this wonderful morning. I'm glad that you have chosen to join us for a Thursday edition of 5 Minutes with Phil. And thankful that you're here with us here today. This morning, I want to talk about what do we do when we don't know what to do? Let me say it again. What do we do when we don't know what to do? What's our responsibility? What actions do we take? What do we do? When we need direction, what do we do? Well, the book of James, and by the way, I just got to tell you, the book of James is such a great book because it is just so practical and yet is so to the point. It's really good stuff. And this is one of those pieces of advice that we get from the book of James that is incredibly helpful to us. It's those times that we need direction and we need wisdom. What do we do? Well, James chapter 1, starting in verse 5, gives us some really good insight on that. Take a look at this. Here's what the scripture says. It says, if any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you. But when you ask, you must believe and not doubt, because the one who doubts is like a wave of the sea, blown and tossed by the wind. That person should not expect to receive anything from the Lord. Such a person is double-minded and unstable in all they do. Now, if you've been around the Bible for any length of time or church, you've probably heard these verses in one context or the other. And I believe that all of this advice is within the whole discussion of asking God for wisdom. Okay, if we ask for wisdom, what are we told here? We are told that if we ask God for wisdom, first of all, we should know that He will give it to us. In fact, He will give it to us generously without finding fault. So you are not doing something wrong by going to God and asking for wisdom. It's actually a very good thing for you to do. You want to get His direction. And the scripture says here that He will give it to us generously. He's not going to hold back. Okay? But here's the key. When we ask for wisdom, this scripture says that we should not doubt. I find that really interesting that James would throw that in here. Because when we ask God for direction, then what are we doing? We are actually saying, okay, God, I am asking you for the way that this decision should be made. And I think doubting comes when if we're being blunt or honest about it, doubt comes when we think that we know better than God. Or the direction comes... The direction and the advice and the wisdom that God gives us is not what we wanted to hear at all. He tells us to do something that, in all honesty, we don't really want to do to begin with. And so what happens, okay, that's when you become double-minded. Because on one point you're saying, oh, I want the wisdom of God. I want God to lead me in this direction, which is fantastic. But then on the other side, you're saying, well, if I don't like it, I'm going to do things my way anyhow. Okay, that is double-mindedness. And the scripture says that such a person is unstable in all their ways. And that makes sense, doesn't it? Have you ever had a person ask you for advice, and really all they're looking for is for you to agree with them? I think sometimes we do that with God. And so I would encourage you today, if you find yourself at a place where you are asking God for wisdom. If you find yourself at a place where you need his direction, okay, commit fully to what God will reveal to you. Commit fully to the way that he says to go, even if it's contrary to how you would like to do things. Trust the Lord. He will guide you. He will lead you. Don't go back on God's wisdom because you disagree with it. Trust the Lord. Okay? I got to let you go. I'm way over time. Thanks for joining me. We love you. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.